How about like after kind of picking up Flutter yourselves and kind of working with it and talking with people, like, do you guys have any tips for people who are just beginning Flutter?
Mm, I feel like I'm still a beginner with Flutter, so I would say just give it a try. Just build something with it. Try the state management approaches. Um, just play around with it. I think one thing that speaking to I guess a caution with Flutter that I gather speaking to our colleagues is that there are definitely certain aspects of cross-platform applications in general and Flutter as well that don't abstract fully. So there are definitely moments where you're going to have to drop the native, depending on your application. For us, one thing, for example, that was picked up on, and I guess I'll share my screen really quickly on this, is
Sure.
that we had someone use our application and they discovered that this problem. And I think you can see my screen right now. Can you?
Yeah, I can see it, but you might want to walk kind of people who are only listening,
Okay,
right? What
sure.
it kind of going
Whoops.
on.
Okay, so the issue was that one of our users was on an iOS application on an iOS iPhone basically, and they discovered while typing that they did not see the iOS autocorrect tooltips that you can see in this like those GIF, the autocorrect, the auto suggestions, and basically this is just a problem with Flutter rendering these inputs and not natively. So it was kind of like not a serious bug. You could still type, just correct it yourself. But we're not going to say that to clients, and we're going to try and work and improve on the experience. But ultimately, this issue still exists on Flutter. In this 5K plus issue board, by the way, a lot of people are voting it. I voted it myself, and there doesn't seem to be kind of like an end in sight to this yet. So ultimately, what Henry, our colleague, did was he just had to do this natively.
So how did he actually solve it natively? That's probably must be a question a lot of people actually have. Do you have an idea how he solved that?
I think he just wrote a package, a native like text field, a plugin or a library, and that was the way he solved it, so that you could basically, like, I think it's, oh yeah, this is Henry himself. So he said, I kind of the same situation like you guys, resorted to writing my own package to export UI text view from iOS for use in Flutter.
Okay, that's interesting. I might actually put that into the show notes because it's actually been updated recently too, so that's good.
Yeah,
But this is
yeah.
only a problem on iOS, looks like, right?
Yes, this is the iOS autocorrect tooltip. It's supposed to appear like here, basically.
Yeah,
I guess this
I see it.
froze. This, yeah,
Yeah, so there's an autocorrect little bubble that happens.
yeah,
That's pretty cool. And
yeah.
did he actually submit this upon you guys, or is it just by himself? Or
Oh, he did it by himself.
okay, that's pretty cool. I'm glad that you guys actually were able to submit this. Um, this could be quite interesting, quite useful for people.
Yeah, it was one of those situations where you start feeling the limitations of cross-platform, um, the limitations of how Flutter approach their rendering. That it's all basically they draw it themselves, and there are definitely pros to it. As our colleague May would say, like you have consistent elements that appear the same, however you style them across platforms. But here's kind of an example of a con, I guess.
Sorry, I was just checking the comments. Somebody actually asked us what is the difference between Flutter and React Native, but I think we went over that question quite a few times. Um, yeah, it's this is pretty cool. I have to take a look at this because I'm trying to dig as much as I can into Flutter these days. And I'm very similar to the thinking that you guys or that your mobile team has is where it's like, sure, I can go native, but I would rather choose Flutter and drop down if I really need to. But at the same time, I don't see much need to because things just seem to kind of just work for most of the time. It's been a fantastic experience. I do have a question over here about is there kind of any warnings, but I guess you already kind of came up with a warning. Is there anything else that you think is a good tip or a warning to anybody else out there who is getting into Flutter?
Marco, do you have anything
Well,
to add?
just try it out yourself. Like build a side project, build an app, go through the whole process of like starting from scratch and like writing the app and maybe like compiling to an APK and like running it on the phone. Just try the whole process once, and maybe spend some time like reading into articles that like introduce some components, because that's how I learned about when to use some of them in some cases. Because like sometimes the documentations may not be like fully complete about like what's the best use cases for components, and I ended up finding like a lot of useful information with blog posts. Yeah.